Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In Podcast. This Saturday, early morning fights going down in Qatar. Got Arman Tsarukyan taking on Dan Hooker in our main event, and a killer co-main event, potential number one contender fight, Bilal Muhammad taking on Ian Gary. 14 fights for us to go through. Excited as always. Recap last week, be transparent on how we finished up. Another real good night for me, man. More than 3-unit profit, 93% ROI there. Went 4 for 4 on my bets. Start out with first fight of the night, bet Mateus Camilo at minus 148. Had some CLV there, but I don't know, man. Almost don't even know if he won the fight. Scorecards are kind of all over the place. Next three, though, almost sweat-free. I had Saint Denis inside the distance at plus 100 for just a half a unit. Hits within like 25 seconds. The under 2.5 rounds in the Dawkins mirror shot fight for a full unit to win back a unit, hits in like 30 seconds, and then Shevchenko by decision plus 155. Told you I really feel like I have a read on Shevchenko's fights. I almost blame you in your Weili confidence for talking me off of Shevchenko, but happy to get her plus money. And yeah, profited 3.73 units for the night. Looking to keep the ball rolling as the last couple cards of the year. Looking to finish the year off hot. Toss it over to you real quick.
Yeah, so ended up the night minus 1.4 units, and I don't know. There were some good things I can take from it. This is 2 weeks in a row where I've bet 4 units and then 3.5 units on pick'em fights, and I was on the right side of both of those. So it's my strongest reads that I'm still feeling good about. I had 3.5 units on Pat Sabatini to win a little over 3. And then my other picks, it was a couple of, Sean Brady, also a favorite at minus 135 against Michael Morales. Obviously, I'm guessing the optics whenever Sean Brady is in there, it's just Morales is able to lean forward, throw out enough offense that it seems impossible to shoot in. But it was odd to me how little he attempted to actually get the fight to the mat. Weili, just a little bit undersized. And then I had 2 units on Jack Della versus Islam. Man, I love fading Islam, and it's never worked out for me, but I don't know if I'll ever quit. So eventually I'll get him. Was not last Saturday, though. Had fight doesn't go the distance and Rodolfo Vieira, Bo Nickel. I'm glad that I took the fight doesn't go the distance because the under 2.5, I think it might have still hit technically, but
7 seconds, something like that.
7 seconds. That would have been a sweat, though. Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez. I expected that fight to be a little bit more choppy at the beginning, but it just didn't happen. And then Fatima Klein by TKO, KO, plus 800. I don't know, man, 10 more seconds in the third round, that happens. And honestly, any girl other than Angela Hill, I think that hits. So plus 800 value. Eventually, those will slide in my direction. But I'm happy with most of those plays except for the Della and Zhang fight. So anyway, minus 1.4 units. It's all right. We move on to the first fight of the night where we are in the heavyweight division. Forgive me. Merrick Buljo versus Denzel Freeman. We got a grappler versus a wrestler. I mean, I think that this fight's low level enough that you just take the dog here. Buljo, black belt, big dude. Denzel Freeman's probably going to try and get this fight to the mat, and that's kind of where Buljo does his best work. But knowing that you're going to end up with your back onto the mat, it's tough to want to bet a dude, but it certainly makes it look a whole lot better whenever he's, plus 170 range. So it's dog or pass for me, but honestly, truth be told, I don't know too much about either of these guys, and I don't want to be laying juice. So dog or pass for me. Merrick Buljo is the pick.
Yeah, didn't know either one of these two guys. Had to go digging for fights on both of them. And honestly, for the Bugilo side, I couldn't find a lot. What I did find, honestly, didn't look too great. His competition super low level. This guy's never been out of round 1. And on the Freeman side, there's a lot more there to watch. And, wrestling background, clearly fought the better competition. His last 2 guys, at least, one of them's in the UFC now. I think they've probably shown me at least more than the Buljo side has. Freeman looks like the better athlete, the better striker. It's just tricky. I imagine this is probably his first time flying to the Middle East, things like that, acclimatizing, making the weight. I don't know. So travel debut makes it tricky. I think if you got the early number on Freeman, you're probably on the right side, but laying almost 2-1 at this time. Can't do it. Still siding with Freeman. But yeah, line's got away. Taking on the next fight, Saigid, Izakmaev taking on Nicholas Dalby. Knew nothing about the Saigid guy as well. And outside of a grappling match, hasn't fought since 2022. And so, Nicholas Dalby has his red flags, man. But I just feel like the line is getting to a point where Nicholas Dalby has always been a guy who's hard to grapple. He's never been submitted. He's got an elite gas tank. And I just feel like when you haven't competed in a couple years and when you're so reliant on the grappling the way this guy is, dude, it's going to be hard to look minus 350 in my opinion. And I think rounds 2 and rounds 3 are super hairy with the pace that Dalby's going to be putting on him. Again, he's just 41 years old, coming off, a bad knockout. One of the first, technically the first knockout on his record. But again, 14 UFC fights compared to this guy's debut. I don't know. If it balloons out to over plus 300, you might see me with like a half unit shot or something on Nicholas Dalby. Can't tell me if this fight's not in round 3. It's not hairy. It's not probably a Dalby round 3. So I don't know. Give me Nicholas Dalby. I'll side with the plus 270.
I mean, I agree that like Dalby's been able to pull out some wins that he probably shouldn't have, but I don't really liken him on the same scale as Neil Magny, where he's like a true journeyman gatekeeper. I just think that sometimes he shows out and performs. I think he does, offer a pretty well-rounded game. So I agree that he's tough to grapple, but I think, this is kind of a perfect opportunity for Saigid to come in here and kind of prove his worth at 31 years old. He has the experience on his record. And I think that this is kind of a show-out spot for him to get at least a veteran name under his belt. I think he easily gets the first 2 rounds, but maybe there's a little bit tougher third. But I wouldn't be surprised with a 30-27 sweep. Again, it's minus 400, kind of unplayable in my head. So it's a pass, but I'm excited to see Saigid in the UFC. Moving on to the lightweight division, we have Nurilo Aliyev taking on Shaquem Rock. Shaquem, he is an Englishman. He's been, fighting lower caliber competition. I didn't get much into it, to be honest with you. The Nurilo Aliyev side, I've been unimpressed by him so far. He's 10-0, but he's not putting on the most exciting fights. I don't really have much of an opinion on this one, to be honest with you. I'd love to hear your take if you have a strong one.
I don't think it's necessarily a strong one. I think this fight kind of resembles and potentially plays out a lot like Diego Lopez and Movsar Evloev. Aliyev is kind of like Evloev. He's super harmless on top, little to no ground and pound, doesn't pass, doesn't look for the submissions. It's, even on the feet, everything's to set up the striking and kind of just laying your guard and land multiple takedowns if needed. And that's kind of the Aliyev side, and haven't been too impressed with the guy either. And on the Shamrock side, dude comes out hot. Dude's looking for submissions early. He's super confident in his ground game and his submissions attempt. He's going to be working hard off his back for submission attempts. And so, I don't know. I do think Aliyev probably gets put in some type of dangerous submission attempt. But if Shamrock doesn't finish it early, kind of feel like he starts to wear down, and in this side of the world, even if he is harmless, I feel like Aliyev on top probably gets him the decision. And so I kind of feel like as much as grappling as there will be involved here, I think Aliyev's going to find his way on top, find his way in the guard down the stretch, and do enough to win. But again, I think it's going to be hairy, like the Lopez Evloev fight. I think Shamrock's going to come out hard and put him in a deep guillotine or something early that makes the fight interesting. But down the stretch, I do lean the Aliyev side, lead by decision again. Next fight's a real interesting one, man. Super public dog. We got Ryan Loder taking on Ismail Nordiev here at 185. On the underdog side and Ryan Loder, it's pretty short, man. He's got to wrestle on the feet. I don't think he wins this fight whatsoever, but if he wrestles, I think he could look a clear favorite. and he's got a pretty good gas tank, maybe the more impressive gas tank. He's the natural 185er, going to be the bigger guy. I just don't think I don't think he likes to get hit. I think he kind of shells up when he does get hit. I don't like what I see on the feet. And on the Nordiev side, he's going to look faster. He's definitely the better striker. But I question so much around this guy. I question why he's at 185. I question why the UFC brought him back after he's 4-3 on the regional scene after the first release, but 5 years younger, a lot more MMA experience, his side of the world, can foul the shit out of you and get away with it as well. Yeah, I don't think I lay the chalk on him by no means, but I've missed the line a lot on Ryan Loder. That was sitting at like plus 150. It's now like plus 115. So I don't know. I think again, if you bet Loder earlier in the week, I think he could look like a massive favorite. And so I think I'm on the Loder side still, man. I always tend to favor the grappler who, when Nordiev shown me that he can be taken down and quit, and a guy like Ryan Loder has shown me he can withstand a tough round one like he did against Valentin and come back and still land those takedowns till get to his spots. I think I'm on the Loder side, man.
Yeah, and if you are, I'd encourage you to bet him. I'm on the Loder side as well. You can still snag plus 120. And I think for all the reasons that you just mentioned, Nardiev, I had bet Jun Young Park in his last one to win inside the distance. And the only saving grace that Nardiev had was fouls that happened in the fight that allowed him to take a breather. Outside of that, he was willing to quit. I just think that Jun Young Park wasn't looking to finish. Loder, I think he could absolutely drown him, and we're getting a plus money price tag. So whether he decides to finish inside the distance or just wear him out with top control, I think that's his fight to lose. So, plus 120. If you think the guy could look a big favorite, I think that's plus CV. I'll certainly have at least a unit on him. So, I'm on the Loder side as well. Bekzat Almakhan taking on Alexander Topuria at 135 pounds. It's scary fading at Topuria, but Bekzat's kind of my guy here. I think that he's honestly got a little bit all around. I was surprised with how well Topuria fought Kobe Thickness in his last fight. I thought that he made it a whole lot more competitive than people expected it to be. I think I was actually like on Colby Thickness as a big dog. But even then, it was Topuria honestly impressed me. I thought that he was getting that price tag for his name solely because of his name, but he showed me a lot more skills than I expected. I'm kind of impressed to see that Bekzat is this big of, was this close of a line, because I thought that he'd come in here as a massive favorite. Knocked out Brad Katona in his last fight. Katona, notoriously a tough outing. And I don't know. I expected him to be a big favorite here. So outside of where this fight's being held and the last name, I think it's all Bekzat.
I've gone back and forth here, man. Ultimately, I was kind of with you. I thought Topuria just looked all right in the debut. Thickness kind of just gave up a lot of ground and put his back on the fence. And like his brother, that's where the Topurias do the best work, when they can corral you and rip the boxing combinations, rip through the body. But at boxing range, I think Almakhan is the more technical guy, the faster hands, and really good sneaky power. And, Topuria's got a really bum regional scene. We've seen him gas before, took a huge break in his MMA career. And Almakhan is the younger fighter with double the experience, man. And so that's something you and I have always talked about as well. When you see a younger fighter with, more MMA experience, in this case, double, that makes it interesting as well. I'm just, you talked about Almakhan knocking out Katona, who had never been KO'd before, dropping Umar. Like, clearly the power's there for the weight class. I just don't know, man. I really don't know. I flip back and forth. I feel like Topuria landing some takedowns in this fight is, while we haven't seen it at the highest level, I kind of feel like it's there, and we might see the grappling side of Topuria. So I flip back and forth all week. The lines flip back and forth all week as well. I honestly think you could have gotten plus money on both these guys at points in time this week. I'm going to finish on the Almakhan side with you, but I don't know, man. It feels like there's sharp money on both sides, and I'm happy to just keep my hands clean with this one. But I'll be on the Almarcon side with you. I know that's a guy I think you've even bet against Umar. I know you bet him against Brad Katona as well. Yeah, good fight coming up next, man. At 125, Kyoji Horiguchi coming back to take on Tagir Ulanbekov. It's like a decade ago, Horiguchi was fighting for a UFC belt against Mighty Mouse. Super experienced guy, about to make his 40th walk to the octagon. Pretty decent karate-style striker, pretty fast, pretty explosive at times, has kept that even at his age. As of late, though, kind of relying on the offensive grappling, implementing that a lot in the game plan to get these wins. Don't know how successful he is with that here, making this fight real tricky for him. But I do think Horiguchi's worthy to jump right back up in the mix of the UFC. Ulanbekov, when you look at it on paper, just a year younger, but in my eyes, a lot less fight miles on him, man. A lot less fight years. He looks to be more durable. He's never been finished before. I do think I don't want to say the better striker, but a little bit, I don't know, more patient. I do think he's more liable to hurt Horiguchi than be hurt. I do feel like Ulanbekov's a better grappler. I'm all right with him being a favorite, man. He's a massive flyweight. As long as the weight cut goes all right, I think he's fine, man. I'm on the Ulanbekov side. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, this fight's minus 300 to go over 2.5 rounds. And I think even if Horiguchi is able to make this close, considering that the fight's being held, I think you'd have to kill the dude to beat him in a decision. So I'm on the Ulanbekov side as well. I think he's got all the skills, honestly, all the skills to the ceiling, sky's the limit for Ulanbekov here. It's just finding the right opponents. And I'm not necessarily sure that the UFC is interested in giving him a well-carved path to the title, but all of the skills are there, and I think that Horiguchi's, best part of his careers are kind of past him at this point. So give me Tagir Ulanbekov by decision at that. Moving up to the light heavyweight division, Abdul Rahman Yakhayev versus Rafael Cerqueira. Squash match, good opportunity to see what Yakhayev is actually made of. On the regional scene, he's looked pretty good. Had equal wins in both knockouts and submissions, and he's getting rid of the guys how he's supposed to. He's had one decision against it looked like his toughest opponent on paper, and to go 3 rounds and not lose a single one. I don't know, man. I think no matter what, he's going to find the win here against Cerqueira, who is essentially just a stepping stone in this position. Cerqueira is certainly tougher in his last fight than he had been in his first couple UFC fights. So, I guess there's something to take from that, but he just cannot help himself. He just got a little bit of quit in him. He doesn't have like that fighting spirit that I like to back. And I think that the UFC is kind of looking to showcase the newcomer in Yakhayev here.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Won't spend a ton of time on it. Cerqueira, I don't know, man. I think, what is he, 0-3 in the UFC? This is probably another finish loss and out the door for him. Super hesitant to strike, backs up, doesn't look to have durability. And, he comes from the Almeida camp. We thought maybe he has some good grappling. And then basketball player, Julius Walker goes out there and out-grapples him and stuff last time out. So skills just aren't there for him. And on the Yakhayev side, I don't know. I think the dude's special. It's kind of what I'm getting at, dude. I think he's going to be a legit contender on the regional scene. The grappling looks really, really good. And I know the Contender Series was super short, but just the way he threw the shots, it was natural. Like his instincts in the cage look good. It honestly reminded me of Peyton Talbot against Cameron Simon. Like just the way the strikes flowed when the dude dropped and the knee came up the middle. It just it looked instinctual, man. And it's things that I think you see out of a very high level prospect. So I'm excited to see the future for Yakhayev. And I think he gets a round 1 finish. Moving up the card, featherweight, Luke Riley taking on Bogdan Grad. Man, maybe one of my favorite fights on the card. Should be an absolute banger. On the Grad side, a bit more known. He had UFC fights. He's had the Dana White Contender Series fights now. He's a guy, literal walking punching bag, But if you don't put him away, he is a dog on a bone, man. Just relentless pressure, mixes in the wrestling. Again, just a dog. And he's the guy that I've backed multiple times. I backed him when he got knocked out by Tom Nolan on the Contender Series. I know we backed him against Lucas Almeida as well. In both of those fights, the striking really caused him some trouble. And I really do feel like Luke Riley is better than both of those guys, is faster than both of those guys, and looks to be way more technical in the feet. Really good counter striker, awesome cardio. I've seen Luke Riley put in bad positions on the mat. I've seen him hurt on the feet, but at the same time, I can give it to him. He's 11-0. He's never lost. I've seen him fight through adversity. If he doesn't put Bogdangrad away, Bogdangrad's probably not going to look plus 220. And so his style, the way he fights, my history of wanting to back him, it's kind of hard not to go back to the well at plus 220 against this Cage Warrior guy who's, just making the UFC debut. So, I don't know. I'll take Bogdangrad, man. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, with any Bogdangrad fight, he's going to get hit in the face a whole bunch before he's able to start implementing his game plan. But he does go to the well. Like, I enjoy the fact that he doesn't steer away. He knows what it takes for him to win. And he's just a younger, more durable Darren Elkins. And, I think that with Luke Riley, he looks great so far, but his time is coming. I don't think that he's as high a caliber as people like to think that he is. It's just a matter of whether or not this is the fade spot. I like betting Grad. It's going to be tough for me not to pull the trigger here, but I also wouldn't be too surprised if he gets starched early, just because he is a little bit slow. Almost in all of his fights, he starts out, even if he wins them, he looks slow at the beginning. You kind of regret your pick, and then he slowly starts to pick up that momentum. And, he's a fun guy to bet on, but I wouldn't be, dropping more than a unit on him, even if you do like him as the side.
Yeah, barring he doesn't get knocked out early, he shot 25 takedowns in his last 3 fights. I just looked. So he knows the assignment,
100%. So, I'll probably find myself on him, but it's a little biased because he's won me enough money I can afford betting on him a couple more times, Moving on to the main card opener, Alex Perez taking on Asu Amabayev. I'm on the Asu side here. I think that he is just at a different point in his career. I think that he's good striking. He's good grappling. Alex Perez, it seemed like he had all of the, potential to be a top level guy, like top 5 level guy. And he was for a second, but all of the big fights he loses. And then on top of it, he's facing injuries just throughout his entire career. And I think that, it's probably his best days are behind him. This is one of those fights where Asu is just not really the type of fighter I want to bet on at 2-1 favorite odds or higher, because a lot of the times he makes them close. But this is a matchup where even if it is close, I think that he'll do just enough. And there's also potential that Perez breaks a leg out there in the first round. So, it's Asu or pass, and likely a pass for me.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't break a leg out there. I bet the over 2.5 in a parlay. I forgot to mention with the Yakyaev under 1.5. But barring Alex Perez's body not holding up, I don't see a finish in this fight. I got it the over 2.5 at -200. Man, again, barring his body holds up, I don't know why that's not -350. I don't know why that's not north of 70% here. I don't think either one of these guys are very dangerous. Alex Perez, the first guy from Dana White Contender Series to ever fight for a title, I do believe. Super well-rounded guy, but like you said, just not in the best point of his career. Lost the big fights, 1-4, I believe, in his last 5. And weight issues, injuries, just a ton of pullouts, man. It's hard for him to make it to the cage. But I do think he is a more well-rounded guy, and you see him in his fight with Mokaev. He can still defend off the wrestling. He can still defend off the submissions, and I think Mokaev offered the better wrestling and way better submission ability than Almabayev did here. So I am on the Almabayev side. Like you said, way better point in his career, really knows how to wrestle, sticks to it, good control. But as he's climbed the rankings, he's not a very dangerous guy. And, again, I don't think I think I've seen Perez fight more dangerous guys and not be finished. So I'm on the Almabayev by decision. But I think there's a ton of value still sitting on that over without Perez an injury. I see it going the distance at a super high clip. Moving all the way up to heavyweight, man, Sergey Spivak taking on Shamil Gaziev. I've kind of wanted to bet Spivak all week at plus money because I truly think with the right game plan with the wrestling, I just think there's levels to it, man. And I feel like if he grounds Gaziev and puts him on his back, that's a round, or he's getting to a position where he can threaten with submissions. What I will say about Spivak is he doesn't shoot a lot of open mat takedowns, and so it's a lot of trips in the clinch, meaning he's got to close the distance against a guy who's got a big speed edge and a big power edge, the better athlete. And so I do think it gets tricky, especially early. But Gaziev slows down bad, man, and I've seen him quit on the stool. All of his UFC wins, but, barring Thomas Peterson, pretty low level. He's just not really shown me that he's ready for, the top 10, the top 15 heavyweights again. And barring he doesn't knock out Spivak, I think there's a possibility where he's grounded and spends a lot of time on his back. So at plus money, Sergey Spivak is only 30 years old, 15 fights in the UFC. He's the side I'd get to way before laying the chalk on Gaziev, but it kind of feels like Gaziev's the respected spot this week. I see a lot of what I consider sharp people on him.
Yeah, I think Spivak's going to break a lot of hearts this week. He's just the type of guy who is, if he cannot be the hammer, he is looking for a way out. And I feel like this is going to be a fight where he has success early, but he's not able to finish Gaziev. Gaziev, while he might be able to get exposed a couple of times by Spivak getting him to the mat, I think that he's going to be very hard to submit. And if every round's starting on the feet, I think that he lands the harder shots that eventually melt Spivak. And it's just one of those fights where I think there's going to be a lot of people tore up that Spivak didn't try hard enough, as if there weren't, telltale signs leading up to this spot in his career. So pass for me. If Shamil were to flip and become the favorite or the underdog at some point in this week, I would bet him, but it looks like the line's moving the opposite direction. So it's a layoff spot for me. Not really interested in getting involved with that. Yeah, not at all, honestly. But Gaziev's the side for me. Moving down to the 170-pound weight class, we have former middleweight Jack Hermanson taking on former lightweight Miktat Oralbai. Dude, this one's so tough. I don't know. It's a crazy move at 37 years old to go down a weight class, but I think that the line is wide, man. I mean, Jack Hermanson is dangerous everywhere. I think if he does end up on top, which we've seen Oralbai get taken down before, I think if Hermanson gets on top, his ground and pound is so vicious that he could open up a cut. He could do enough damage to steal a round. And then even on his feet, I think that Jack's just going to be the much bigger guy. He has developed, even though he's a primary grappler, he's developed a pretty good stand-up game over the course of his UFC career. And, maybe this move is exactly what he needed. Oralbai, tough, has looked good in his 155-pound fights. And then up against Uroš Medic, it was Uroš, right? Mm-hmm. He looked great. He looked like a true 170-pounder. But Uroš is also a former 155er. Like, this is just a spot where I think the odds makers don't really know what's going to happen, and we're getting a favorable line on somebody who they've kind of written off, even though he is a super high-caliber guy. Nobody dominates Jack Hermanson unless you're Khamzat Chimaev, and even if he does end up on his back, he's got so many sneaky submissions where he can just crank on him. He's just got that lifetime grappler type power that he could crank on something and make guys tap. So anywhere the fight goes, I think that Jack Hermansson has a potential to pull this one out. And sitting at 2-1 dog odds, it's going to be tough for me to pass him up. So I'll let the line continue to get bet down on Orlby and then hit Jack Hermansson. Yeah.
See it pretty similar, man. I really question it like yourself, dropping to 170 at 37 years old. We're talking about a 15-pound weight difference here. And also, throwing in coming off one of the worst, nastiest KO and follow-up shots that I've ever seen in my life, against RoboCop last time out. And so, I'm super hesitant to back him. But skill for skill, man, I mean, the line's absurd, Again, you talk about the size of a dude who's made 155 versus a guy who's made a living at 185, fighting really, really good competition. And so I don't think Orlby is going to hit him harder than Joe Pyfer, and nobody's dominated him in the wrestling, like you said. So if Orlby is not dominating him in the wrestling and this is on the feet, Jack's got pretty reliable volume. Jack's got a good gas tank. He's got the big cage here to work around to land that calf kick. And so I think I do want to see him on the scales. But I expect Orlby to kind of still get some love, when you got this old guy making the new weight cut or coming off a KO loss. I think Orlby, again, going to take some love. And if Hermansson shows up looking good on the scales, yeah, man, I think we might see plus 220, something like that. And it's probably going to be something I'm on before the fight starts as well.
Moving on up. I'm kind of under the impression that if Jack gets on the scales and he looks good and we get face-offs right after, we're going to lose about 30 points if you're not on him before the weigh-in. So that's something that I feel like people should factor into it, because I think he's going to look fucking massive at 170.
Yeah.
He was a big 185er.
Oh, for sure. So keep an eye on the scales Friday morning. I think that'll tell you a lot, especially if I'm going to play the fight or not. Volkan Ozdemir, Alonzo Minifield. I didn't really tape this fight. This fight doesn't really excite me too much. I think Volkan's got the clear, better resume at this time, but being a former title challenger, kind of just where's his head at right now, and decent KO power, good calf kick, but I don't really see where he's a minus 250 better than Minifield. Minifield doesn't really have any offensive grappling to his game, but can defend a lot of takedowns just off of sheer physicality. He's brute, man, strong as Knox. And I don't know, he just holds that power to be able to change a fight just the same way Ozdemir does. So it's an easy pass. I kind of think it's going to slip over. You've seen some Minifield fights where we think there's going to be some finishes and there's not. Just a fight I don't really have a good read on. My gut says Ozdemir, and again, I think it goes over. So Ozdemir decision.
Yeah. So initially, I was really wanting to bet Minifield because I think he has a grappling upside here, but he's just notorious for making bad decisions in the fight. I think he just pulled out a really good one against Umar Sy. That was probably his last great performance. I think that he probably gets chin checked here against Ozdemir, who does a pretty good job of finding that chin over the course of 15 minutes. I can't even trust Minifield to shoot for a takedown and kind of try and exploit the area where I think he has an advantage. So probably pass. If I get a solid line on Ozdemir KO, I might consider it, but outside of that, it's a pass for me. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Bilal Muhammad taking Ian Machado Gary on. It just seems like Gary's time to shine, dude. Like I came in here wanting to bet Bilal Muhammad, but I think that Gary's going to look pretty big against him. We've got nearly a 10-year age gap. Bilal might want to try and take him to the ground, but Gary's got a good submission game. On the feet, I think Gary has a much better understanding of distance management. He's longer, just puts his game together a whole lot better than I think Bilal can at this point in his career over 3 rounds. Bilal's somebody who uses weaponizes his cardio against guys. And I feel like in a 3-round fight, that doesn't favor him. So, yeah, I think Ian Gary's going to be able to do enough to win the fight pretty clearly, probably by decision. But if anybody's finishing the fight, I think it's also Gary. So Gary's the pick for me, and I think his price tag is warranted.
Yeah, it feels like, especially in this matchup, it's going to be hard for either one of these guys to make a bigger statement than Michael Morales did last week. But I think both guys have a much better resume than Michael Morales did. So, a really good, impressive performance, an early finish here. You could jump one of these guys, in particularly probably Gary, with Muhammad and Islam not really wanting to fight each other. But yeah, Gary, good performance here, puts him pretty close to a title shot, man, if not next in line. On the Bilal side, you're at 37 years old. You just lost the belt. Again, Islam's holding the belt, the guy who was going to stay at 155 had he beat Jack, so it kind of seems like they don't want to fight each other. Is he going to climb back through Murderer's Row? I just don't know, man. And, I don't know if welterweight – I don't want to say anything bad about him, but I don't know. When Bilal came champ, welterweight was kind of at a stalemate. Kamaru Usman was getting old. Colby wasn't there. Leon was the champ. And I get it. He did beat Sean Brady, but you didn't have the Sean Brady's now, the Michael Moraleses, the Shaft Cats. You didn't have Ian Gary. I just felt like Bilal kind of came at the perfect time to get his belt. I don't know if he could come back through the top 170ers to earn that shot again, is what I'm getting at. Always known for his fight IQ, kind of seemed like it went out the window against Jack Della, not wrestling until late in that fight. You bring up a good point there. I feel like this being over 3 rounds really kind of hurts his chances of winning. And yeah, if he doesn't push a hard wrestling pace, I don't know how he wins, man. Gary's got the big cage. He's got some of the best footwork in the UFC, some of the best cardio in the UFC, 10 years younger. Yeah, I think he's just going to beat Bilal up at the range with kicks like he always does. This guy's a master at maintaining distance. So I bet Ian Gary at decision, -120. I honestly think that should be about -150. I think Ian Gary styles on him here for 3 rounds. Moving up to the main event, really good fight, man. Arman Tsarukyan taking on Dan Hooker. I'll start on the Hooker side. Normally a pretty historical, durable guy, and can be dangerous at times. And he's got that wicked knee up the middle, and being the much taller guy here, that's probably one of the big weapons that I think could pose Arman some trouble. But if I'm being honest, man, 36 years old at the beginning of next year, he's been in numerous wars. He's been finished 6 times, and now in his career, he's pulling out of fights. He's getting hurt. This is just his 3rd fight in the last 3 years. A lot of things on the Dan Hooker side that I'm just not liking, man. And his wrestling defense, it's improved, but it's always been his downfall, man. And, when you look at the Islam fight, I kind of feel like, Tsarukyan doesn't have that level of submission offense, but I kind of feel like Tsarukyan's going to get his positions pretty easily. So I think Tsarukyan finds his takedowns early. My issue is with him is unlike Islam, he's not very dangerous on top. I see very little ground and pound outside of the Joel Alvarez fight. He hardly ever gets into his positions and submitting guys. And so with that kind of style, it sometimes prolongs how long he has to grapple. And he does carry a lot of muscle with his frame and stuff. So having to grapple a lot over 5 rounds, don't really like it. And I'm unsure if he finishes Dan Hooker, so I'm unsure if he's going to have to grapple for a full 25 minutes here. I'm on the Tsarukyan side. I can't do much with -550. He's 29. He's in the prime of his career, and he was just in a title fight. So clearly one of the best in the division. I'm on the Tsarukyan side, but I don't really have a clear yes, he's going to finish Hooker or not, man. So how do you feel? You think he just bone saws through him?
Disrespectful. He is the best 155-pounder on the roster, in my opinion. I've held that opinion for as long as I can remember with Arman. I had him beating Islam. I thought the line was super disrespectful. Yeah. I think he can grapple for 5 rounds. Dan Hooker should have hung it up after beating Mateusz Gamrot. That happens. That shouldn't have happened, but it did. And you talk about somebody who doesn't have a lot of upside outside of just being able to grapple their opponent. Mateusz Gamrot is the guy, and Hooker was barely able to scrape that one out. I would say that Arman Tsarukyan has twice as much finishing upside as Mateusz Gamrot. And he's also like a sneaky good striker. So if he wears him out for 3 or 4 rounds and then decides to strike with him, Dan Hooker gets hit, man. Like people claim that he has some of the best boxing in the UFC. And truth be told, I just think that he's super tough and can get off a lot of his striking. Doesn't really make him the best striker in the UFC. I think Arman, even on the feet, is a whole lot more technical, more likely to catch a knockout shot. And, in the Joaquim Silva fight, when Tsarukyan did get caught, he recovers really, really well. He knows what to do whenever that happens. And I think he dominates him from pillar to post here. If the only way that you can play him is inside the distance, I still think that there's probably value on it. I'm trying to get it to load right now. What are we looking at inside the distance?
Minus 145 on DraftKings.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much juice left to squeeze. I think I think it probably happens, but I'm also not looking to bet it. They've covered the line pretty much every way that you could, but man, I think that he has a lot of potential to just look like a clear favorite. Hopefully he's next in line for the title. Only thing working against him is nobody can pronounce his name. Nobody knows who he is, and he's the most dangerous fight for anybody out there. So he's very unlikely to get the title shot. Ruined his chances, blowing out his back the night before the fight against Islam. So sucks, but yeah, I think that he gets it done on Saturday for sure.
I like it, man. I like it. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us as always. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's all 14 fights, UFC Qatar, off for the week of Thanksgiving, but we are back for the final pay-per-view of the year, UFC 323. We'll see you guys then.
Peace.